Budjari Gumara, Warami Midiga, Willabalami Garam Barak, Dia Giara Julie, Ingayingara Darago Diem, Naya Nurawa, Wayanga Nura, Gumang Jinamagang Nura, Didjarigo Yanajana Wubulingami. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see you wherever you've come from. My name is Julie. This is my country, the country of my mother, my father, my grandmother and grandfathers. I love this country. Thank you for coming here today and walking with us and strengthening our spirit. Didjarigo.
Each year we observe Sorry Day, a day to commemorate and remember the losses that Aboriginal people have faced at the hands of colonisation. It's a day we as all Australians come together and recognise that we are on land that was stolen from Aboriginal peoples in 1788. The day isn't a day of simply saying sorry to an Aboriginal person. Today is a day for Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal Australians to come together and heal by understanding the past, to recognise and commemorate the suffering, the genocide, the destruction of land and the tearing apart of Aboriginal culture, to make sure it never happens again. For together, through education and understanding, we achieve reconciliation.
They thought they could kill our culture by taking us away from our families.
They thought if you remove the colour, you'd remove the culture.
Children. So my pop had to build a slab house on the back of their 40-acre property because their nephews and nieces were getting taken away from the police one by one.
At Chifley College Mount Druitt campus, we learn about the atrocities committed against Aboriginal peoples in the past. We have teachers who understand from different perspectives why knowing this history and commemorating Sorry Day is important.
It's not just the history of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, it's all of our common shared history.
It's a time for the whole of Australia to be able to reflect on what has happened in the past.
The only way that we can live together is to acknowledge the way that's come to be and all the things that has entailed. I don't think it's about personal guilt or accountability. I think the idea is acknowledging that we as a country, as a culture, have parts of our history that we need to acknowledge in order to fully understand who we are and all that entails and move forward together.
I'm wondering how far we've come as a nation from invasion to an acknowledgement of being sorry, what sorry means to everyone, how far we've come since the apology. I think being out in community, I've started to understand that sorry means something different to every person. It has a lot of different connotations.
Sorry Day is very personal to me because of the history of my family.
On Anzac Day, we commemorate the Australians who have fought and lost their lives fighting for this great country. Sorry Day is the exact same as we are commemorating the Aboriginal people who have lost their lives or given up their lives fighting for the civil rights of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders in this country.
Sorry Day is important to me because of what's happened not only to my culture but what's happened to my family as well. My family has been affected and you do see the ramifications of what's happened in the past and the continuation of what's going on.
Previous government policies have been devastating to Aboriginal communities and families. Policies that took children away from their mothers and communities in an attempt to assimilate them and separate them from their cultural identity, as well as attempts to breed out the colour and culture. These forcibly removed children are known as the stolen generations.
As a mum, I can't imagine what it'll be like to come home and have your children taken away or even taken away straight from my arms.
The story's right, the story's true. I would not tell lies to you, like the promises they did not keep, or how they fenced us in like sheep. Said to us, come take our hand, set us up on mission land, taught us to read, to write and pray. Then they took the children away, took the children away, took the children away. snatched from their mother's breast, said this was for the best. They took them away. The welfare man, the policeman, said you've got to understand, we'll give to them what you can't give. Teach them how to really live. Teach them how to live, they said. Humiliated them instead. Taught them that and taught them this, and others taught them prejudice. You took the children away. You took the children away. Breaking their mothers' hearts, tearing us all apart. You took them away. One dark day on Framingham, they came and didn't give a damn. Cried, go get their dad. He came running, fighting mad. All his tears were falling down. Dad shaped up and stood his ground. He said, you touch my kids and you fight me. Then they took us from our family, took us away. They took us away. Snatched from our mother's breast, said this was for the best. They took us away. Told us what to do and say. Taught us all the white man's ways. And then they split us up again and gave us gifts to ease the pain. Sent us off to foster homes. As we grew up, we felt alone, 'cause we were acting white, yet feeling black. One sweet day, all the children came back. The children came back. The children came back. Back where their hearts grow strong, back where they all belong. The children came back. The children came back. The children came back. Back where they understand, back to their mother's land. The children came back. Back to their mother, back to their father, back to their sister, back to their brother, back to their people, back to their land. Yes, all the children came back. The children came back. Yes, they came back.
In 2008, the Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd, said sorry to the victims and survivors of the stolen generations. This was a momentous occasion and a symbolic gesture towards reconciliation.
To the stolen generations, I say the following. As Prime Minister of Australia, I am sorry. On behalf of the Government of Australia, I am sorry. On behalf of the Parliament of Australia, I am sorry. And I offer you this apology without qualification. We apologise for the hurt the pain and suffering we, the Parliament, have caused you by the laws that previous Parliaments have enacted. We apologise for the indignity, the degradation and the humiliation these laws embodied. We offer this apology to the mothers, the fathers, the brothers, the sisters, the families and the communities whose lives were ripped apart by the actions of successive governments under successive parliaments. So let us turn this page together, Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians, government and opposition, Commonwealth and state, and write this new chapter in our nation's story together.
To start healing, we must first recognise the wrongdoings of the past. That's what sorry means. Sorry starts the healing and the reconciliation process for all Australians.
Words are really important to me. And the word sorry isn't quite a homophone in the way that we teach you about them in English classes, but sorry has many connotations. It can mean sympathy, it can mean acknowledgement, it can mean admission of guilt, own of remorse. And I think the National Sorry Day is about healing, because it's not about me as one person saying sorry to one person or one group of people. It's about all of us acknowledging that there is a sorry aspect to our history.
We're looking at apologising as a country, because the country that we live right now and that we think is great wasn't founded on a happy time. It was founded on issues with the country being taken, land being taken from people that weren't here originally. Aboriginals are the first Australians. Aboriginals and Torres Strait Islanders are the first Australians, or the first people in this country, and I think it's very important that we recognise that.
What does sorry mean to me? Sorry to me means nothing unless it's backed up with action, and I haven't seen a lot of action. I think people forget that it was only one sector of Aboriginal history and one sector of Aboriginal people and Aboriginal life that the sorry was extended to, and whilst that was needed and it had to happen, and it's such a sorry business for Aboriginal people, the stolen generation, there is so much more that needs to be addressed for this nation to actually accept and acknowledge its full true history.
Sorry Day is an important day to recognise and acknowledge the injustices and maltreatment that Indigenous people received at the Australian government hand.
It's about saying that there is this very real and very, very difficult reality that has happened, that is ongoing, that we need to acknowledge, and that the only way that we can do that is by realising that there is something that we should be sorry about, not necessarily sorry for individually, but sorry about.
To me, saying sorry is bringing more value to the relationship with the Aboriginal community of the past, of the present, and of the future.
If one thing can be gained at a school level from commemorating Sorry Day, what would you want that to be?
Education. Education around what it's all about, education around not listening to the propaganda, education about how we can actually make, real effective change, and just respect and acknowledgement that the events that we're commemorating actually did occur, and so that it's not just lip service and tokenistic.
It is easy to think of history as in the past, not a part of who we are today. However, history has shaped today. The events of the past still affect many Aboriginal people today, and we know this through many stories as well as statistics which place Aboriginal people as still facing racism and shorter lives. Some of you may have heard the phrase closing the gap. The gap is the difference in the quality of life Aboriginal people have compared to other Australians. Although 75% of Aboriginal Australians no longer live in remote communities, there is a life expectancy gap of at least 10 years compared to non-Aboriginal Australians. The unemployment rate for Aboriginal Australians is 3 times higher than non-Aboriginal Australians. Although Aboriginal peoples make up only 2.5% of the total population, 27% of the adult prison population and 50% of the youth detention centres are Aboriginal. The suicide rate for Aboriginal peoples is double that of non-Aboriginal Australians, as is the infant mortality rate.
Colonisation and forced removal of children has caused trauma and pain for Aboriginal communities across the generations.
Intergenerational trauma is passed down through generations. So I'm sitting here as a fair-skinned Aboriginal person, still traumatised by things that I know happened to my mother and happened to my grandfather. It's probably a driving force for why a lot of us go on and do the kind of work we do, to try and rectify some of that. And whilst my grandfather's long gone, he's the reason that I do everything that I do, the reason that I try to walk a good walk, the reason I try to, be a part of true reconciliation.
Obviously a lot of challenges for Aboriginal people in today's society. Through our work we're hoping to help alleviate some of the challenges, try and give some boys some opportunities. We've got a really great group of guys here at Chifley College Mount Druitt, and they're going to be the leaders of tomorrow.
Facts show that for Aboriginal people it's a lot harder for them to go through to Year 12 and complete Year 12. Also, it shows that if kids do go through to Year 12, then they've got more of a high percentage of getting employment and closing the gap.
Sorry Day is important because the events of the past are still affecting Aboriginal communities. At events like NAIDOC Week and throughout the school year, we see Aboriginal students sharing culture. This is so important because so much of Aboriginal culture has been lost and continues to be lost. It is easy to forget that not all schools are like Chifley College Mount Druitt. Not all schools are multicultural, have teachers from diverse backgrounds, celebrate diversity and accept difference.
So Australia being a multicultural country as it is today, it's important to celebrate not just the Australian culture, but everyone's culture, and more importantly, it's important to concentrate on the Indigenous culture of Australia as well. Being the oldest living race in the world, it's important for us to go back and reconnect with the Aboriginal culture.
So learning about and engaging with your own culture and others' culture within the school is a really vital step in your self-development. We have here at Chifley College Mount Druitt. We can use our different cultural backgrounds to learn more about ourselves and to embrace the future.
As not just as a school, but as a community, we're definitely starting from scratch again, because the culture has been lost here in Western Sydney. Not that it was any of our fault today, but what's happened in the past is what's going on now. For us to be able to build on it as a school, I think it's awesome, I think it's great, and the support that comes from not just the school but the students, teachers that are involved is awesome.
In my role is to teach students and teachers about the history of Sorry Day and what's happened in Australia, and recognise the culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people within the school.
I had the pleasure of working with some of our Aboriginal girls on the Bulldogs jersey design, and we were really fortunate enough to have the team actually wear it for the Indigenous round. I haven't got as much or as deep a knowledge about Aboriginal art and culture as I would like, and this experience gave me the chance to learn more about it, both from the students and from some of the elders that we worked with, and we were fortunate enough to work with some Indigenous artists as well. I would say that as a result, I'm far more interested in learning about the symbolism behind a lot of the artworks, and I think we'd all benefit from learning a little bit more about Aboriginal culture.
At Chifley College Mount Druitt, I've been so honoured and privileged to learn about and be included in Aboriginal culture. I didn't know much starting here in 2009, just after the apology, but I know not anywhere near as much as there is to know, but I know so much more than I did.
Growing up, I wasn't as susceptible to all the different cultures and multiculturalism in the area that I lived in. So now I get to learn about that from not only my students, but the teachers and the community around me.
I was born on Gimilaraay country, and I believe that it is important to acknowledge and understand the Aboriginal land that we come from.
One of the first things you learn about is physical activity in sports, but a lot of the time you don't really get an understanding of where sports were developed. We hear rugby league, we hear soccer, we hear AFL, and we just assume that these are sports that were developed many years ago, but we don't actually get a background of it. I think it's very important to remember sports like AFL are an Aboriginal sport, and that's why it's so important on Indigenous rounds that we recognise these role models and the fantastic contribution they've made to our society.
The children from this generation, whether it be Chifley College here or anywhere, is to learn. We have to help them learn to be proud. We've been taught nothing but shame for generation after generation, and our children now are ashamed to actually step forward, or fearful a lot of times to actually step forward. So it's about, supporting them to be who they are and letting them know that it's okay to be Aboriginal and that it's something to be proud of. It's not something they have to feel ashamed of.
On Sorry Day and every day, we must remember that we are on sacred Aboriginal land. Sacred land which was stolen. We all play a part in recognising the wrongs of the past and making sure they never happen again and we never forget. We play a role in connecting with Aboriginal culture, because Aboriginal Australia is everybody's Australia.
Yeah. I'm Fitzroy where the stars be. I'm Wanging in 93. I'm Mundine, I'm Kathy. Man, that far inside of me.
The norm was it?
You didn't tell them what on again?
I'm good. I'm macho. I'm everything that you watch. I'm everything that you count. I'm the dead hearts. I'm good. I'm macho.
You gotta say 4 words now.
Where they used to live. I'm macho. I'm good. I'm macho. I'm good. I'm macho. I'm good. I'm macho. I'm Patty Mills. With $12 million. I'm Doug Nichols, I'm Jimmy Little with a royal telephone. I'm the world champion 68, boy I'm Lionel Rose. I'm William Cooper, I take a stand when no one even knows. I'm the walk-off, I'm the sound-off, the children coming home. Boy I'm good, I'm macho, I'm everything that you ask. I'm everything that you count. I'm the dead hearts,